3 years ago, young Tony watched with horror as his father was taken into the night sky by a mysterious blinding light and never seen again. Until now. His father is coming home, but he's not the man he used to be. That's the setup for one of the 80s most notoriously absurd sci-fi horror flicks, 1982's Xtro, written and directed by Harry Bromley Davenport. I'm Josh Allred.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And this is Filmgazm. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the Filmgazm podcast. And boy, do we have a treat for you, as Connor and I are going to be talking about a bizarre sci-fi horror mashup released in the UK in 82 and in the States in 1983. I already said it at the top, but it's a title you can't get out of your head. Xtro. It was written and directed by Harry Bromley Davenport and starred Philip Sayer, Bernice Steggers, Simon Nash, and Miriam Diabo. This is a film that falls under the classification, it's got to be seen to be believed. Words cannot possibly encapsulate just what you see when you watch this movie. Connor, if you could sum up this film in a couple words, what would they be?
The fuck. I was not prepared for whatever the hell this was. I looked at the cover, I looked at, the cast and the synopsis, and I thought like, oh, this is Alien with some ET thrown in. It's probably going to be like a goofy comedy. I'm going to hate this. And I watched it and I'm like, fuck, all right, we're going hard here. From just watching a full grown man give birth from a woman to like toys coming to life and a fucking like panther killing a boyfriend. Like, this thing does not stop. Like, there's no rules here. It's just, it does whatever the fuck it wants. It expects you to expect that, which I think is brilliant. I've never had a film give so little fucks before and still work. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. So when I watched this with Caleb, I started digging through a lot of the special features, and one of them, actually all of them, had the director. They were talking to him through bits and pieces of it, and literally quoting from him, which I put in my review. And I'm going to do my best to do an impression of Harry Bromley Davenport right now. And he said, we just wanted to make a horror film. Bloody, to be disgusting, horrify people. So like literally that's what his mindset was behind this. And fuck if they didn't deliver. Like it is that it's bloody, it's horrifying, it's really disgusting, it's unsettling, it's upsetting, and it, like you said, it just never stops. And I can't believe that this movie doesn't have more of an appreciation for just like how bananas it is. It's one of those movies that people always hear about, and sometimes they're just too afraid to take the leap. And I mean, you might be surprised to know this, but I'm sure you looked at the credits, who the executive producer of this movie was. A young man by the name of Robert Shea. Does that name ring any bells?
Not at the moment, but go ahead.
He's only the man who was working for a little upstart production and distribution company called New Line Cinema back in the day out of New York. So before he had the house that Freddie built, Bob Shea was just getting out there, just trying to make movies. He was friends with the producer, Mark Forstater, who was, I think he was an expat living in Britain. And it was their collaboration that kind of brought this movie to life. Bob Shea put up half the money, and Mark Forstater had to get the other half. In true executive producer fashion, and because Bob Shaye always wanted to make movies of his own, his influence is certainly felt in this. And in particular, for one scene that you brought up, which will definitely, I'm sure we'll come to it more than once, because it certainly like it really does bring out the what the fuck spirit of this movie, and that's the Panther. Like, it was his idea to have it. Like, yeah, you just got, because for him, he even told Harry Bromley Davenport, and I'll come to that. So like, Davenport and his friend Michelle Perry had the initial idea for the movie, and they called it Monstro. It's admittedly not the best title. It's terrible. However, is because Perry loved Hammer horror films, but Forstater thought their early draft was old-fashioned. He didn't want it to be a Hammer film. He wanted it to be something different. So they passed it on to friends of Mark's, who are credited as the screenwriters, Ian Cassie and Robert Smith. And then that version of the script went to Bob Shaye. And then from there, Bob Shaye was like, okay, yeah, we can make this. And so Harry goes to New York for his first visit to New York. He said it was the scariest place he's ever been to. It was just so disgusting. And he called it perfect British description. It's the more unsavory parts of Manhattan. So that's where he's going. And he's doing the rewrites there. And Bob Shaye tells him, and he does an impression of Bob Shaye, which is like every British person doing an impression of an American, which sounds like a fucking cowboy. It's like, it's gotta be wacky. It's gotta be off the wall. So yeah, like I said, Bob Shaye's idea to stick the Black Jaguar in there for no other reason than to just be sensational, just ridiculous. And Harry Bromley Davenport and the cinematographer sat in a cage for 4 hours shooting that scene where in the hallway where it's just stark white and you got this black jaguar walking towards them. They sat there for 4 hours drinking beer and then pissing in the bottles because they couldn't go anywhere. Excruciating. And I think he said it was, what did he say? Let me see if I can find it in my I've got it here, because he really, like, he says it like the way he described it. It's really funny. I think he just said it was expensive, it was ridiculous, but it paid off. It worked. Like, he didn't want to do it. Bob Shaye was like, no, we got to do it. It's got to be ridiculous. It's got to be crazy. And it worked, obviously. It was also his idea to accentuate Miriam Diabo's assets, if you will. So yeah, beautiful French woman. She's got to be naked, obviously. Like what? So that was part of what I had said to you, and I texted you about this movie, that this movie has a connection to the Bond films, because Miriam Diabo ended up being in a Bond movie, because this Xtro was her first movie, and I'm trying to remember the name of the movie that she was in.
She was Cara Malovi in The Living Daylights. Bond is my forte. I knew her immediately.
Yes. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I always thought she was super hot. So thank you for that, at the very least.
It's what I do for my friends.
So
around the time that this comes out, you've got E.T., Alien had come out in 79, and you think, for me at least, that the Italians are basically the masters of the ripoff movie, and Mark Forstater knew that he wanted to ride in that wave. He wanted to follow in that path, but he wanted to make something different. And that was where the log line the log line of, and it's in the trailer too. If you ever look at the trailer, the log line is "Some extraterrestrials aren't so friendly." This is basically like the anti-ET, like obviously. But yeah, like the Italians had made some terrible ass ripoffs. Literally one titled Aliens 2. And then one of my favorites by Luigi Cozzi called Contamination. And that's another like straight up, like they have egg-shaped alien creatures in there. You know, like there's just any and all manner of ripoffs that they're pulling through all of that. And so they knew that that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to just slide right in there and get their own movie out. You take any guesses to how much the budget was?
On Xtro, seems low.
So in UK money at the time, they raised £450,000. And I did the math. That is about 600 grand American in the 80s, which in today's money is just over $2 million. So it is absolutely like in low budget territory. But really, when you watch that, you don't really, parts of it, yes, you can feel it, but for a lot of it, because of how hard they go on the effects, because that's what's going to sell a movie like this. It's the effects that are going to sell this movie. They really like use every trick in the book to make you believe that this world is real. Even if some of the gags are really, really ridiculous. One of them being when Sam first comes back and he's calling his house on the phone. He actually had burned his hand because they literally just had a heating element inside a phone, and it was probably made out of rubber or some kind of flimsy ass plastic. And as it was heating up, it was like burning in his hand, and he just dropped it. That's why, yeah. So like stuff like that. But I mean, it's a pretty cool effect. It makes absolutely no sense because you're like, why the fuck is that happening? You know, or why is he huffing gas? You know, like there's so many ridiculous things that go on in this movie. So many.
The melting plastic, I bet, came about because Shay or somebody else said the alien in Alien melted shit. So our alien's got to melt shit too.
I mean, no doubt. It's probably just as simple as that. What, other than the most obvious thing that sticks in your mind with this movie, like I know you had pointed out that you really enjoyed the story, and that is something that they spoke about with the quality of the parents, Philip Sayer and Bernie Steggers, who just before this movie, she was in a Fellini movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Which
like
one?
She's I want to say it was like City of Women or something like that. Trying to remember.
Yeah.
It's one of those. But
I've
yeah,
only
she
seen
was in
like
a Fellini-
3, so I figured it's probably not one of those 3.
Yeah. She was in a Fellini movie. And I mean, you can definitely tell that with that whole, because there's like at least 2, maybe 3 different kinds of stories being juggled in here. And the one that is the most compelling, obviously, is Sam trying to reconnect with Rachel and like that whole struggle and drama that's come about. But then you also have this weird, wacky alien element that is just looming over everything.
I was surprised at that. I didn't expect them to give me a compelling family dynamic like that of, you know, dad's been gone for 3 years, mom moved on, dad comes home, mom's conflicted, new guy doesn't like it. I was in. I'm like, what happens here? And Joe doesn't seem like the most, you know, endearing stepdad. He's kind of a dick.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, but like apart from that, the weirdest thing I didn't think I'd connect to was Tony and the snake. There's something about that just made me smile. I got so pissed when the neighbor lady killed the snake. I was like, no, Harry, no.
Yeah.
It was,
Harry.
yeah. And then that leads into, Tony abusing his psychic powers. It all works. Like nothing ever feels out of place. It like the second that he, dad says like these powers will give you, like you can do whatever you want with them. I'm like, all right. And he does whatever they want, like full blown reality warping powers to make a panther, turn your toys into a giant soldier and a dwarf clown. Okay, sure. Anything goes. Yeah, this was an interesting watch.
I kind of like that the movie, like from the moment it starts, it doesn't let up. Like it's very, and even though the director said that there's a lot of he calls it connecting tissue. There's a lot of that stuff that didn't make it into the cut that came out. And on the Blu-ray I have, it's got the original ending, then it's got the alternate ending, and it's got the VHS cut from the UK when it came out on home video there. And then it's got the director's cut that he had put together in 2018 when that version was released. And he said there was a lot more connecting tissue that kind of helps bring the story together. And for you to be very held to the narrative in a movie, the fact that you're saying that, I was actually shocked by. Just because like this movie feels like when you think about it, excuse me, there are just, it for me, it's like these like moments that are punctuated by these events that happen. Like those, they stand out so much in your head that you almost kind of forget some of the things in between. But then when you go back and you actually watch it, you're like, okay, I can track really what's going on. I mean, and like I said, it wastes no time. Sam and Tony are playing out in the yard. For some reason, Dad's playing the worst game of fetch with their dog. He's like, oh, go get this stick on top of the tree. And boom, Dad gets picked up, gone. Tony, we find out, has been having nightmares about this. And he keeps seeing his dad, and Mom has to reassure him that your dad's gone. He just left us. And she's convinced of that. Tony isn't. Tony knows what happened. And it kind of has a little bit of that, like in a very vague way, the Amblin connection of like the kids always know what's going on. The adults don't want to believe the fantastic thing is happening. The kids know. And then it's kind of up to the kids to make everything right again. But that doesn't necessarily happen in this movie.
Yeah. Like my only real beef with the film, you mentioned that, I really subscribe to a narrative. There wasn't really any sense of plot resolution, mainly because the aliens just kind of show up briefly at the beginning and then are never seen again. And that's really my only problem with it. Like I wanted it to kind of come full circle, and some alien shows up at the end and is like, now you will take this world for our race or some shit like that. Something. But instead we get Mom in a bathtub full of eggs.
Well, funny you talk about that. So like for me, the way I read the events was when Sam comes back, that's who is coming out of the muck and crab walking their way, which the person that played the alien and the person that played the commando toy was a mime musical group known as Tick and Tock, literally spelled the same way that the brain draining time suck app TikTok is spelled. Those guys, these two English guys, and they were convinced to get all dressed up and play these parts. And the guy that did the alien bit, his name is Sean Crawford. He was so brave, take a full body cast in the crab walk position to do that, to get his body cast. And then it was his idea to be like, hey, why don't we have me walk backwards and the head of the thing can be on the back of my head? Yeah, really fucked himself in that regard. So not only that, as if that wasn't excruciating enough, It was also cold as shit when they were shooting at night, and they literally dug a hole and filled it with water and told him to submerge himself so he could rise out of the muck, after the crash and whatever. And of course, as these things happen, the mask started to fill up with water. So, but yeah, and they were calling action, and he didn't come up when they were calling action because the mask was filling up and he couldn't hear anything.
Oh boy.
He eventually got up, carried on, but he was cold as hell. So it's like, these are the risks, and something that would never happen. That stuff would never happen now. That would all be done digitally. Nobody would ever get in that position. But that's part of the charm of that. That's what makes it so real and so tactile when you see these kinds of effects. And that's where, like I said earlier, that's where all the money goes to a movie like this. And it really sells it. Fun fact. So that shot where the alien is coming out of the woods and the car is coming up on it. I want to say it was the producer, Mark Forstater. He was saying that clip started to get passed around like actual evidence of aliens coming out.
Oh my
And this was
God.
proof. Yeah. From this fucking unknown gem of a horror movie. That's the magic of this movie. And that's how fucked up this shit is, that people actually thought, this is proof. You see this? This is an alien, man. He got hit by a car and blah. It was like, you fucking jackasses.
I guess if you haven't seen the movie, maybe it looks like docu footage. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But like that, that's not the first thing I'm going to think about. That's not the first I'm like, oh shit, aliens are real. No, I'm probably going to be like, what fucking movie was this from? I have to see it.
I love that there's people out there who saw a clip from this thing and thought, oh, there it is right there. The world's about to change. that's the funniest
proof?
Shit I've ever heard.
I have proof.
I love if that guy like whips out his Xtro DVD and like shows it to you. Like he's completely like he doesn't fucking get it. Oh my God, that's fantastic.
So yeah, that's how everything starts. That's when Sam's home and doesn't exact, which somebody brought this up in one of the special features. It's like, aliens are supposed to be advanced races and they have all this technology, but every time they come here, they're always crashing. Like how fucking terrible drivers are they that every time they come here, suddenly they just forget how to land?
Man, it's a good point, but who's to say, it's every time, the time, maybe just, 1 in 5 or something, but the ones that don't land, we don't fucking hear about them. We don't see them. They're doing their job right.
I could see the only ones that pop into my head right now are when E.T.'s family lands, they don't crash. The one of the aliens in Independence Day, they crash when Will Smith gives them the line, but that was more from a dogfight than anything else. I think, was it Spaced Invaders? I think they crash landed. Maybe that was Invaders from Mars. I always get those two mixed up. But yeah, seems to happen. But again, we're only getting the quote unquote evidence of them being terrible drivers to continue on this thread of movies being proof that aliens exist.
Close Encounters, I don't think they crashed.
Oh no. They were musicians. Of course not.
And Predator is here on vacation, so he needs a ride home.
Very much so.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, just checking that out. Just looking at every alien in sci-fi movies are just terrible drivers who fucked up. That's great. I love that.
And then, as you always do in these kinds of movies, you want to check what you just hit. So this guy, his name was the actor's name is Robert Pereno. He goes and checks out what he hits, and in one of the special features, he's talking like that's like the only thing he's known for is the line "Stay in the car." He's like constantly repeating it, and they keep intercutting him saying it with shots from the movie of him going back. Like that's the only thing people say to me when they see me: "Stay in the car." And yeah, of course, you know, he pays for his curiosity. He Xtro fucking flicks his tongue out and stabs him in the eyeballs, and he's down for the count. Only just to be left there so Sam can get some clothes later. And that's where the creature stumbles onto Susie Sylvie, but she is billed as Woman in Cottage in the credits. Even though she is literally in the scene that this movie is known for. Literally, she gets billed as Woman in Cottage, but the reason why they got her is because she was willing to do what they needed to have done. You know, she was comfortable with nudity or whatever, and just going for it.
I mean, as an actress, there's comfortability with nudity, and then there's whatever the fuck this is. I mean, I can't imagine getting that, like, you know, the interview of like, so this is what we've got planned for our vision. I hope we're on the same page about this. We're gonna have a grown man be birthed from you, and we're gonna see as much as possible. Are you cool with that? And she's just like, let's do this.
Not even that. That's the payoff. First off, we're gonna have some weird tentacle alien dick thing fly out of its chest, and yeah, he's gonna inject you with stuff. Whatever. We don't really know. We're just kind of making this up. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, then you're gonna have a boy, or I mean a man. So yeah, like this scene was so memorable that a movie that came out, I think it was either late last year or early this year. I saw it during one of the episodes of The Last Drive-In, and it was by a South African filmmaker named Ryan Kruger. Interesting enough, continue the little connection with Bob Shea and New Line. He came out with a movie called Fried Berry. And in Fried Berry, this junkie is basically hijacked by an alien and experiences the world through Barry's junkie riddled body. And there is a scene where he finds a lady of the night and they have fun. And literally seconds later, she gives birth. And as I was watching that, frequently I'll tweet along with that kind of stuff just to, you know, participate with the online horror community and try to spread the love that is Filmgazm. And I literally tweeted in all caps, "She got Xtro'd." And the director was watching along with us, and he was like, "This guy gets it." So knew exactly where this guy was pulling his plays from. Like, man, you're not gonna get that one by me, buddy. And yeah, like that movie is wild. Yeah, that movie is wild. Like if you like Xtro, you really like. I think you'll enjoy Fried Berry because it's just like it's cranked to 11. You think this movie goes wild? This movie goes wild. Yeah. So that's just like. It's so crazy. But this scene actually plays kind of tense and really interesting in a way, because when she comes back inside, she's turning off lights and then everything is just like washed in red. And apparently there's a Xtro super fan. I think his name is David Atherton, and he called it a British giallo in these scenes, which broad strokes, yeah, I could see where he's talking about doing that. Basically, the woman goes in and the alien trips her, flings out his appendage, we'll call it, and impregnates her, and then it rolls over and dies and winds up turning into a pile of goo. When she wakes up, she sees her dog named Divine, which was named after John Waters' muse, the wonderful drag queen, and one of my other cinematic heroes. Love Divine. I also love drag queens. I think they're amazing performers. I'm in awe of anybody that can go up there like that and just leave it all on stage. It's amazing. So yeah, as she gets up, she collapses. She looks down and boom, just swollen belly. It's the craziest shit ever. And you see like undulations, all this thing in there. You hear all these weird sick sounds. And yep, like I said, she had a man, and out squirms Sam. And to like kind of like to put an exclamation point on that scene, he bites off the umbilical cord.
Oh God. Yeah. Dear God. At that point, I was like, you know what? I can cross it off my list. I've never seen that before.
No, I mean, you only had stuff hinted like that, and not even in nearly a gross. Pops into my head as something that crazy is when Jim Carrey is popping out of the robotic rhinoceros's butthole in Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. but that can't hold a candle to this, even though Jim Carrey like really like goes probably further in its explicitness. Sam's birth is infinitely worse just because of how ridiculous it is that would happen. It just comes out of nowhere. Literally comes out of nowhere.
When it's not hammed up, it's not played for laughs. Like, it's a very serious moment of like, oh shit, like something wicked this way comes. Like, you're getting a vibe of like the bad guy has arrived. It's freaky.
Yeah, and it's like it's a revelation too, because I think at that moment you're not sure what's coming out of there, and then you see who it is, and you're like, what the fuck? That was in there? All right, here we go. And then he takes a shower in the kitchen, as you do. You know, first thing you do when you're born. Let's get all this gross crap off me. I gotta find some clothes. And then this is why I think Sam was the crab walking Xtro. He knows where the body is to go pick it up and to go get the clothes.
I assumed it was like a hive mind situation.
Perhaps, but we like, for me, and to take my my cognitive film theory approach, you know, like your only evidence is what's on screen, and what you see is just like this, you know, kind of cause and effect thing. You see this alien does this thing to the woman. Dad's back. Dad knows where the body is. Was Dad the alien? Who knows? I mean, and you know, and he kind of lets on about that when he's talking to Tony, when he says, I had to be changed in order to live there. So little things like that are what kept me thinking that, yes, that is him, but only on the outside, which we find out later.
True. But then, like, why, you know, he actively does, you know, want his wife and son back. Like, there's still a lot of Sam left in there. So, like, is it a hybrid Sam? Was Sam completely turned into an alien? Like, these are the questions that, you know, I still have.
Sure. I would like to think that there is part of Sam there, but I also feel like it's more like a Sam suit in a way, because this creature does have purpose. It's a very singular purpose. And he even says it explicitly. He's like, I came back for you. He came back for Tony. And kind of, I guess, winning Rachel back only had a secondary purpose, which, depending on which version of the movie you got, there's two different ways that pans out. Like, okay, so when Sam comes home and they have that awkward moment where he and Joe are meeting, and Joe's like trying to like put his arm around her and be like, I'm here now, so what are you gonna do? It's like, coming home, bro. Like, what are you talking about? This is my family. And then he eats the eggs. Like, why? Like, what the fuck? This is one of these moments like, what the hell? Okay. All right. All right. That's not really dad if he's eating eggs. And then he gives Tony the gift, right?
To me, it wasn't so much that he ate the eggs; it was how he ate the eggs, just like smashing them into his face. Like, what the fuck? Just they're this big. They're snake eggs. They're tiny. Just pop them like Skittles. Why you gotta like smash them up like that?
It's for effect, for him, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, and then like how he gives Tony the gift is so creepy.
Oh,
yeah. Like fucking vampiric sucking that like creates like a tumor on the body. It's so freaky looking. It's an impressive effect.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like there's a whole new, layer to these creepy ass aliens. They're vampires too.
There's something they love sucking and shooting goo into whomever they come across. And like when he explains to Tony, kind of like what he can do, Tony kind of experimenting with that. And this is where the first time I had seen this movie, I had no idea where the panther came from. I was like, what the hell is going on? But then I was watching, and this was from the Super Xtro fan. He pointed out that there is actually like a toy panther in a cage next to where the little person clown is swinging on the bar. And then in another shot, it's outside of the cage, and then it's gone, which you start to think, okay, so at least there's some kind of intent there. But according to the director, he's just like, yeah, I mean, people are just connecting dots that weren't necessarily like, there was never any intention behind any of that. The fact that it's there, though, it's kind of like, well, whose leg are you pulling? Pulling my leg? Like, come on. What's going on? What's going on here?
Yeah, like, why not just own it? Like, what do you gain from being coy about that? I don't get it.
So like the sense that I get of who Harry Bromley Davenport is from these interviews he did is he loves taking the piss out on people. He loves having fun with you, and he's got a really good sense of humor. He made a remark about the name of the snake. He's like, oh yeah, they named it Harry. That's just hilarious, isn't it? Like even he knew. It's like, yeah, it's absurd. It's female snakes. Female snakes lay eggs. It's named Harry. It's totally ridiculous. This guy's got a sense of humor about him, and he's in true British fashion. He never cracks when he's telling jokes. Like he's not gonna let you know when he's pulling your leg. He's gonna make you think about it. It's all part of their art.
Yeah, definitely. This I haven't checked his IMDb page, but like, what else has he done?
He did a movie before Xtro that caught the attention of Mark Forstater, and trying to think of the name of it. I had it written down. I don't have my notebook with me where I wrote it down. I think it was like Whispers of Fear or something like that. And for him, he even said it was like, it was his take on Repulsion. Oh. So like he's trying to, that was Polanski, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was trying to pull a Polanski with his movie. And then I don't know what else he did after Xtro, but I know that the two he also wrote and directed Xtro 2 and Xtro 3, which have nothing to do with each other. They're like sequels in name only. And he was actively trying to get the funding together to come up with another Xtro movie called Xtro, the Big One.
That's a great title.
Again, being such a shit and having a sense of humor, he was going to set it in LA, and the Big One is in reference to an earthquake, and then the aliens come and they're trying to capitalize on this disaster and to take over the planet, all that stuff. He even had some test footage that he put together, and there's all kinds of crazy shit. It's like iMovie effects and some silly stuff going on, but like he's really trying to sell his idea. And as far as I know, that was 2019, I think, was when he was trying to do that, but nothing else has been seen about it. I was trying to look it up and see if there was any more production information about it. And I can't find anything, which leads me to believe that he hasn't been able to get the money for it. Understandable. I mean, 2020, really nobody was making movies. And even the aliens in Xtro 2 and Xtro 3 are completely different from the original one. Actually, the original ones in Xtro. So like, it's almost like he was kind of just using it as an umbrella, because he even made up when they were doing a lot of the initial trying to sell the movie. He was like, well, I just came up with the word Xtro. I gave it a silly definition that it meant extraterrestrial. It was another word for extraterrestrial. So I'm just like, again, he's just pulling it out all the stops, just trying to do anything and everything to market this movie and sell it. And I think that was kind of him trying to have a catch-all and just to make these movies, because I think the second one has something to do with like the government catching aliens and doing their experiments on them, trying to control them, shit like that. And I think the third one, they're on an island, but they don't know that the island is actually a spaceship and there's an alien there, and all hell breaks loose, as these things do. So yeah, that's kind of like how the history of these movies come about. And I was actually pleasantly surprised to know that he was still trying to make these movies. So, and I haven't seen him. Second Sight put out the Blu-ray of Xtro that I have. I think Xtro 2 is hard to find. I haven't been able to find it. And then Vinegar Syndrome put out Xtro 3, which you can still pick up. And I might pick it up, but I've also heard from people that it is hard to watch. So the quality of these movies has gone down, which is saying something for, some more discerning critics about this movie, which that was something I was looking up, because my thoughts about Rotten Tomatoes and critic scores and all this crap.
Yeah. This
movie was like 38% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 8 reviews. So that's a small sample size anyway. And I don't trust those 8 people. IMDb has it at a 5.6 out of 10. And then underneath that, when you're looking at movies and stuff, they'll show like, users for Google or whatever. It had an 80% approval. Like 80% of people that watched this movie liked it. I'm like, and I was looking at Caleb when I was looking it up. So I was like, so who's wrong here? I wonder. I'm looking at you, Rotten Tomatoes. I don't trust you 8 people. If all these other people have said they love it. And oh, by the way, well, everybody knew that listens to this show, because I picked this, that I'm going to love this movie. But we'll also be pleasantly surprised to find out, as I was, that Connor has a nice score for this as well. And we'll get there. Is there anything else that like you, because I know you said you have some notes and stuff. Is there anything else that you want to touch on?
I have a couple things, but first I do want to point out the Letterboxd score of Xtro is 3.2 out of 5, which is not bad.
Yes, that was another one I was looking at too.
Two things that freaked me out. when Tony wakes up covered in someone else's blood. That was a great touch. I love that they call the doctor, and it looks like Joe went back to sleep.
Oh, of course.
Which is like, okay, he's a prick. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
That made me laugh. And then later on, it freaked me out. I don't know why it freaked me out. It's when right after Mrs. Goodman kills the snake, and Tony's like, oh, this will not stand, and awakens his toys. And she hears a knock on the door. She opens it briefly, and then you just see a claw come through and cut her lock. Like, that fucked me, man. That was like, that right there was terrifying. Oh, yeah. And then it's a toy soldier that stabs her to death.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like when I first saw that part, I was like, holy shit. Like, I wasn't pulled out, but I was also like, this is the most frightening, but also the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen that is like gonna come and kill this lady. And even when she killed the snake, like, you remember she handed it back to Rachel, and it's just like a bag of goo, and like
what the fuck?
He's not responsible for anything.
Just throw it out. Giving it back as a bag of guts is a weird power move that's unnecessary.
Extremely unnecessary. That's just adding insult to injury. You might as well just dumped it on the kid's head or something. Fuck.
God. Shit.
But okay, so speaking of creepy things, when he gets Annalise and he does his own little implanting, if you will. So this also shows how much of a trooper Miriam Diabo was, this being her very first film role. She was in that apparatus for hours on end, and she only had a bicycle seat to sit on.
Ouch. Jeez.
And this is fucking Harry Davenport. After a while, a bicycle seat can get very uncomfortable. I don't know if you know this. It's like, yeah, no shit, dude. I sit on a bicycle seat for 20 minutes. My asshole hurts. Like, I could only imagine for being up there for like 4 to 6 hours.
Jesus.
And then she's just got these eggs just coming out of her underneath her. Got to get the shots.
Gotta get the shots.
Yeah, I mean, but all of that, like, and I think that level of commitment she has, and the effects that they are able to put together, really just like they range from just creepy creatures to these otherworldly like concoctions. Even though like it doesn't make any like point A to point B like sense for what you've seen from these creatures, like it's all just you're so engrossed at that point that none of it feels like out of place. You're just like, yeah, sure, there's a friggin' little person clown who's now Tony's henchman, and he's making sure all the eggs are taken care of, and they've got a nice place to to incubate in a fucking refrigerator full of goo that they all just sit in. And oh, by the way, the fucking building superintendent, he's gonna kill him with a spinning top.
That guy was so unnecessary. It's like, oh yeah, no problem, absolutely, you can count on me. Hangs up, bitch. And then he goes and does it. Like, what is this? What's this guy's issue?
So funny because like I think maybe I would have to be corrected on this. I don't know because I'm not British. Is that a very British move though? Like, you hang up the phone, you insult the person that asked you to do this ridiculous thing, but then you go to do the ridiculous thing because you have to do what you said you did. Even though you didn't really want to do it, you told them you'd do it, you're going to go do it and curse them the whole way.
It's bad form. You have to, you insult people privately, but in public, you're, an upstanding, stiff upper lip British citizen.
God damn it. two-faced fuckers.
Before we get, I do want to point out, in 2002, Mariam Diabo led a really cool documentary called Bond Girls Are Forever that catalogs kind of the history of Bond girls throughout the franchise. She interviews a whole bunch of past Bond girls, including Ursula Andress and Jill St. John. And it's really cool. It's really neat. And you get to see the Bond franchise through the lens of the kind of the most, objectified members of the cast. So definitely worth checking out.
No, that's awesome. And I think that is something I really enjoy about what horror does, the genre specifically, and how it gives opportunities to, young and hungry writers, directors, special effects artists, actors. Those people, they all get their start here in this dirty little sandbox that nobody wants to give credit to. But without it, you wouldn't have a lot of the names that you would have as we know them now. I mean, you think about somebody like Roger Corman, the careers that he started. I mean, you could just start naming names, and it's because of him. Francis Ford Coppola, Jack Nicholson, Joe Dante. God, who else? I'm trying to think. Oh, fuck. Is it? No, it's not Dick Smith. God damn it. Wait. Anyway, you get my point.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
It's really refreshing. And then I'm very sure that you were quite surprised when I was throwing that out there, that there's a connection to the Bond movies by way of Xtro. You're like, what? Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, that was neat. And then, like, as soon as she came on screen, I'm like, it's Kara. Oh my God. That was just, yeah, it's neat. I love that. I love when I can make a connection like that.
So as this movie continues to get more and more absurd, probably one of the other more upsetting scenes happens where they're out at their cottage trying to find Tony, and Rachel and Sam are having a reconnecting moment. And then we start to see that something's happening to Sam, and he is slowly losing his skin, literally. And then it really, it turns from a very loving moment of reconnection to a moment of sheer horror and sexual assault. And it's handled in such a crazy way. Like, Sam's apologizing for what he's doing and is almost like immediately repulsed by what he did. And then he's gone and he's running out. And that's like where we're coming to the end of this movie. And that Sam has made this transition into his full skeletal form, that we also see Tony is starting to change as well. When they're standing there, you don't really see the ship. You just see this blinding white light. And Rachel finds him. She's screaming for them to come back. She wants Tony back. And Tony, it's like he doesn't even know that she's there. And he turns and walks into the ship, and Sam walks into the ship, blinding light again, and Rachel's just left there all alone. Joe got exploded, I think, something like that. Didn't his head explode or some crazy shit like that? Sam screamed at him.
Sam screamed at him, and his ears started bleeding, and like an aneurysm happened or something. I
guess they blew their load. Pun. God, I'm sorry. Pun not intended, but it happened. on all of the other good effects that they couldn't blow his head up. I'm sure that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's a shame. He deserved a better death.
Oh, absolutely. That was a total asshole. Even though he's the American in the movie. You're like, yeah, you're still a dick. I don't like you. Sorry. I like this weird kid who's got a pet snake and can make his own friends. But yeah, okay. So this is where I was telling you before, where you have one of two endings. And it sounds like you got the alternate ending because you said you're talking about a room full of eggs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the ending you saw was I guess it's one way to think about it is the Carrie ending, the shock ending, where Rachel picks up the egg and a very familiar appendage comes exploding out.
Yep. That was
and
the one
attaches. So check this out. The Rachel in that is not actually Bernice Steggers, the very good double. And it's not surprising that the person who wanted this ending, because it was more, in his words, punchy, Bob Shea.
Yep. Makes sense.
So that's considered like the darker ending. And the more, I think the definitely the weirder ending is in that very same room that Rachel walks into. When she opens the door, you just see a lot of Tonys, and as she walks in there, you see like all these kids are wearing really shitty Tony masks, and they're all coming up to her and they're rubbing her belly and they're saying, "Mom, mom, mom." And it does like this weird, like dissolving movement with the kids to where like they're just all shifting around her and like they're all rubbing her stomach, and she's visibly pregnant. Which, if you're thinking about it, shows that Sam succeeded in what he was doing, and that maybe his plan was twofold in a way. One way or another, I guess, depending on which ending you see, there was more to come after they left. But yeah, like if you can find that ending, it's really creepy. It's very, very creepy. To see this room full of kids just walking up to Rachel and just kind of like petting her, and she's standing there, she's smiling, she's all, she loves it for some odd reason, because you think about where she was just mere moments ago, watching her son and her now alien husband leave her there on Earth, and all of a sudden she's just in a good mood, looking at all of her creepy children staring at her.
Jeez.
Yeah. So that's where we're left at the end of Xtro. The movie just kind of ends, and that's where I think you were saying that there's not a real resolution in all of that. It just kind of, yep, we're done now.
Yeah, and considering how short the movie is, I think they could have, been a little bit longer, 10 more minutes maybe. But what was it, 600,000 pounds? You work with what you got.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what we end up getting is an experience. It's, for me, it's like, and for me, it's one of these movies that like your ears perk up when one of your friends goes, "Yeah, I've never seen that," and you're like, "What? Okay, we're watching it right now. Order some pizza. We got something to do." And it's kind of like this weird like rite of passage thing too. Like, it's like, you mean to tell me you haven't seen Xtro? Like, come on, you've got to see it. It was also caught up in the video nasties, that whole prosecution scam that was going on, where, believe it or not, it actually got released on home video in the UK untouched. It didn't actually get prosecuted and join the list of the actual video nasties that got prosecuted. It was on there, but for one reason or another, they didn't think a man being birthed from a woman after an alien raped her and impregnated her was too far. Evil Dead, though, no. no. We can't have people watching that because that has demons in it. Aliens is fine. Aliens are fine because they're not real.
You can so they had no problem with a woman being raped by aliens, but raped by a tree, that was too far.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
You got to draw a line somewhere.
It's a weird place to draw your line, but yep.
Look, this is the British Board of Film. You can't know what these people are thinking. It's like thinking about what the MPAA does and how they rate movies and the notes they give people when they bring in their movies to be rated. Like when I first watched This Movie Has Not Yet Been Rated, that documentary about the MPAA, I was like, this is who we have rating our movies? Seriously? You just pull any jackass off the street and they're just going to inject it with their body. Like, why? What do they know about anything? Chances are they probably couldn't even draw a stick figure or have any idea of what art is or anything like that.
Yeah.
God, it was so frustrating and infuriating watching that.
Reminds me of the George Carlin quote. Think of how stupid the average person is. Then remember that half of them are stupider than that. It's like, yeah, and these are the people you trust in this area. It's like, yeah, no wonder we've had such regulation in the American film. It's astonishing. But yeah, this film, decent. I would watch it again.
That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, this is probably top 3 party movies. Like, if I'm thinking about a party movie list, this is definitely going up there. And for me, it hits on like very very critical levels for me. So like special effects absolutely got to be there. Really off the wall moments has this in spades. And then it's got good music. And that's something else I wanted to bring up is the music was written and composed by Harry Bromley Davenport himself. He was a classically trained concert pianist, and he wanted to try out these newfangled synthesizers that were all the rage. And in looking back on it, he kind of thinks it's kind of silly sounding and I love it. I love the soundtrack. It's just it's one of those really good themes that you can never forget. It's not as great as Carpenter's for Halloween or like, when any of the other ones that he's done, but it's like right up there. It's just it's so fun. And it really sets the mood for this movie. And yeah, like anytime I watch Xtro, that theme is in my head for at least a week afterwards. Like it's just always there, floating around in my brain somewhere. But yeah, so like I said, Xtro was spared by the British Board Film Commission, released on home video in the UK uncut, and has since gone on to confound and offend in equal measure for almost 40 years now. Films like this only come along once in a lifetime, and for good and bad, it's here to stay. I mentioned it earlier. The British company Second Sight put out a restored version of this movie for home release with both of the endings that we talked about and 2 other cuts of the film. And also like 4 separate features. One of them's like a whole hour documentary talking with Mark Forstater, Harry Bromley Davenport, and surviving cast members, talking about their experience making this special piece of film. For me, I give it an 8 for sheer insanity alone and sequences that cannot be unseen. What about you, Connor?
I give it a 7. It's engaging. It's unforgettable. It really uses its budget. The effects don't seem as dated as they could be. The characters are engaging, and really it's just I wanted some plot resolution and a little bit more on the aliens. But other than that, I would not consider this a film I don't like.
That shocked me because I kept prefacing. I was like, oh no, you're totally gonna hate me for this. I really think you're gonna question our friendship after this movie. And for me, it was like I was thinking about all these outlandish things that happen in there. And I also have to give myself a little bit of credit because I think I've guided you well enough through this landscape of crazy movies that I love. And I think you're seeing them in a way that you may not have seen these movies. Like if you would have watched this 2, maybe 3 years ago, I don't know that you would have the reaction you're having right now.
Yeah, you're completely right. This podcast has really forced me to watch a lot of crazy ass movies I never would have considered. And every movie I watch reinforces the next movie I watch. So yeah, you're very right. This is I've enjoyed going outside the box with these films that you bring to the show. Keep them coming.
I will keep doing it as long as you have me to sit with you and talk about them. And I think sometimes with a lot of these movies, you kind of get to understand just how unique the medium of filmmaking is and how it takes all of these different elements and smashes them together and births something truly unique. Like reading a book is one experience. Looking at a painting is a completely different experience. Watching a movie is like all of that rolled into one. And it's truly something magical. It has its own kind of language. And once you start to understand that, I think your eyes and your mind are open to things that you may not have ever considered before.
Yeah, that's very well put. I'm loving this journey. I'm loving getting to become a better film person, become a better film buff, become, closer to you guys through film. Like this has been just a blast. And I'm so thankful we get to do this.
Yeah, I love it, man. I can't get enough of it. It's always fun, especially when I can look at my shelf. I actually have a shelf now. All my movies are at, and I can look. What do I want to subject Connor to this time? And just finding anything and everything. And yeah, before we sat down for this, I was telling Caleb, I was like, I really got to go hard now. Connor liked Xtro. What the hell am I going to try and surprise him with next? Like, shit, you are making it harder on me, and I appreciate that. But you also might regret it.
Yeah, I feel like down the road, yeah, the harder it gets, the more it's going to be like, oh boy, this was a mistake. So it's going to happen. I know it is. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah. What do we got going on next week?
So next week, it's going to be Connor's pick. He's got Twilight Zone, the movie, and this film, it's got quite the dark cloud looming over it. For things that happened during the production, which was talked about on the Shudder series Cursed Films. It addresses that tragic moment and an accident that cost the lives of some of its cast. A lot of negative energy gets thrown at John Landis, and I don't know that he totally deserves all of that. With filmmaking being the collaborative effort that it is, not to directly correlate them, but with the incident that happened with Alec Baldwin and stuff like that, he's not the sole person that's responsible for all that stuff. So I'm certainly looking forward to hearing your thoughts about it. If I'm sitting across from you doing it, we'll have a lot of fun. I don't know exactly who's going to be joining you with that. But it'll be a good one nonetheless. It's a great anthology movie, and yeah, sure to be a good experience nonetheless.
Yeah, the second chair is up in the air right now, but I'm sure whoever it is going to be awesome. This is a film I've wanted to do on the show for a long time, specifically to dig into and address the incident, but also to kind of remind people that the movie is not just that incident, that this movie deserves a life of its own. And I'm very much looking forward to digging into each segment, discussing the pros and cons, and just getting freaked out because it's a freaky movie.
Yeah. There are lots of things that really messed me up. I mean, right from the start, and I told you this before we recorded, the opening scene messed me up. John Lithgow was wonderful in his remake of William Shatner's episode of The Twilight Zone. Actually, check this out. Xtro and The Twilight Zone, the movie, have a nice little connecting thread because there's a story about a kid who can make shit up.
Yes, indeed.
Look at that.
Nice. It all comes.
See, we know more about what's going on than you think we know, guys. See, we're planning stuff out. We don't even know it.
Yeah. Film is an intricate tapestry constantly being woven, and we are only getting glimpses of it at any given time. I firmly believe that.
I don't know how I'm going to top that. Damn you. Brilliant.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Then share some with us. Geez.
I wish. On Oscar Sunday this week, Black Hawk Down, Ridley Scott's epic Somalia war movie that I have yet to watch. I'm excited to check that out. Sneak preview this week, House of Gucci, Encanto, Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. Those are our releases. Probably going to be House of Gucci, but you know what? Encanto could be amazing. Resident Evil could be amazing. Who knows? Tune in to find out what we talk about.
Yeah. I know that I bought tickets for Caleb and I to go see Resident Evil. I'm all about it. And I am ashamed that you have not watched Black Hawk Down until now for the podcast. I've seen Black Hawk Down.
There's a big list of films I've been getting shit for quite some time. It's nice to finally knock those out. Black Hawk Down is one of those movies.
Hey, any excuse to get movies checked off the list. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, this was great. This is episode 2 of me being the host. Still trying to get my bearings. But I also want to make it a little more me, a little more, my style. I hope that that comes across. You guys are enjoying these. Please, engage us on social media, Instagram and Twitter. We're at Filmgazm. You can also email us at filmgazm@gmail.com for suggestions, comments, whatever. You don't like the way my voice sounds, I can't help that. You're going to have to blame my parents. I can't do anything about it. I'm also on Twitter at Zombie Killer. You can also follow Caleb. He's at Scary Caleb 92. He should probably come with a new one, but I'm not gonna. I'm not criticizing him or anything. But until then, if you ever catch your dad eating snake eggs, just know that he might be a horny evil alien looking to take you on his spaceship. Look to the skies and keep watching movies.